Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Bear with us for a couple of minutes here as we get the ball rolling. Super excited for the first hour here. We've got quite a few different projects up here from a bunch of different ecosystems. We've got Kinetic Markets coming in from the Flare ecosystem, Hashpack from the Hedera ecosystem, Siki from Hedera, Xspectre from multiple ecosystems, but with origins on the XRPL, and Interlock from LUKSO. This is going to be for the first hour here. We're going to be diving into user experience in Web3 at the top of the next hour, so 1 p.m. Eastern time. Super excited to have kind of an exclusive look into the LUKSO Foundation for the New Creative Economies with Managing Director Lucian Aguilar. Bear with us for a minute here. Let me get all the speakers up, and we will get the ball rolling momentarily. Let me do a mic check because I always tend to ramble in these things without testing my mic. Mark, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Awesome. And I believe we probably have Andrew up from Interlock. Andrew, can you hear me okay?
Correct. Check one, check two. Gotcha.
I see Dirk down in the audience. Let me get Darren up here as a co-host as well. Dirk, feel free to request speaker. It'd be cool if we can get the Xspectre account up here also, if possible. And let me reach out to Siki on the side here, and Kinetic should be coming in as well. Bear with us for like 1 or 2 more minutes, guys, and we will get started. All right, we're going to get the ball rolling here. Always like to start these out with, and I believe Kinetic will be coming in here momentarily. Same thing with Siki, but we always like to start these out with a little bit of an intro. We do have a bunch of ecosystems up here today, so I'm going to get the ball rolling with Interlock and Andrew. I've got to preface by it's a kind of a big day for the LUKSO ecosystem. Common, I believe, went live today, which is kind of the DEX and AMM aspects on the LUKSO network. So kudos to the entire team. That has been in the works for a while. You guys have a busy week with Interlock also, but Andrew, if you could give an intro of yourself, that would be great. And tell us just maybe an overview of Interlock.
Yeah, thanks for having me. At Interlock, we're building dApps that use Web3 to crowdsource security by incentivizing users to participate in security. We give them a free browser extension that protects them from browser-based threats, and then we incentivize them with our token to share security data and also actively classify threats that we miss. And then we package up that data and sell it as a product called Enterprise Threat Intelligence. So it's a two-sided marketplace, but think of like Brave, but for cybersecurity. So that's a quick overview of Interlock.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. And then Mark from Hashpack, if you want to tell us a little bit about Hashpack, that would be fantastic for those that are not aware of what you guys represent to the Hedera ecosystem.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you for having us, and thank you for putting this great panel together. Lots of familiar faces. I'm Mark. I'm the Director of Operations at Hashpack. Hashpack is the leading wallet in the Hedera ecosystem. We hold around 95 to 98% of the monthly active users in the network, and we have a very deep focus on user experience. So today's spaces is definitely going to be something, that we have a ton to talk about. But yeah, we've done many things over the past 3 years, and just recently, actually in less than 24 hours, we're going to be launching our own token. So very excited with that. Lots of work and long time coming, but yeah, very excited for the spaces.
Awesome. Dirk, I'm trying to invite up the Xspectre account, but Dirk, if you can tell us a little bit about all of the work that Xspectre has been doing for the past couple of years in this space. Maybe just an overview, and then we'll dive into the weeds with you, but maybe introduce yourself. Tell us what kind of brought you into Web3, what brought you to Xspectre as well. That'd be great.
Hi, Ryan. Hi, Darren. How are you guys doing? I'm a little bit sick, so apologies. But for the people that don't know me, founder of Expector, started out on the XRP ledger almost a little bit over 2 years ago, building an open metaverse platform, integrating multiple chains, multiple wallets, hashback wallet for example as well. And yeah, been doing pretty good in the past 2 years during a bear market. Team almost 60 people now, non-stop working and expanding, looking into expansion to other chains soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Dirk. And then we have the man, the myth, the legend probably up here today, notably also in a couple of different ecosystems, but driving a lot of education and community engagement within the Flare ecosystem through Kinetic. Jake, if you can maybe give, I'm assuming it's Jake. Jake, if you could maybe give an overview and an intro of yourself and tell us just an overview of Kinetic also, that'd be great.
Hey, I am Jake from Kinetic, core contributor here. Handle a lot of the communication stuff. Have a fun little podcast that I started to not only help people get to know the wonderful people developing on Hedera, but help myself learn about the wonderful people Oh, sorry, I said Hedera. The wonderful people developing on the Flare network. You might also know me on Hedera as Warlock and Key. I'm present in that community as well. But my little podcast that I started for Kinetic is called Connecting with Kinetic, where I talk to a lot of cool people from the Flare network. I am kind of fairly new to the Flare network. I'm getting less new every day, maybe 8 months now. And it's been a really wonderful experience to get to know that community. Very unique community, which I guess is something I like. So Kinetic is a lending protocol, and we are going to it's launching fairly soon with a little trademark above the soon. Things always get a little more complicated when you start saying specific dates, but it is coming. It is happening. It's going to be the first lending protocol on the Flare network, and we're really excited to kind of be a showpiece for what the Flare network has to offer as far as technology, the new stuff they're developing, specifically, leveraging the FTSO, which is their native Oracle. We're going to eventually be leveraging Layer Cake, which is their native bridge, and FNCX, which is a native way for non-smart contract tokens like Bitcoin or Doge to be used in DeFi natively on the Flare network. So very excited to be here. Thanks for having me. Very excited for the future of DeFi.
Awesome. I sent a request down to Siki, and I see Jack and LUKSO down there. Didn't really ask you guys yesterday. I know we're doing this kind of topical space surrounding user experience. I think if you any of the LUKSO builders or Jack or LUKSO, if you guys want to come up. But Siki, Chris, if you can maybe give us just an overview of Siki, all the work that you guys are doing. I know that you guys have a lot of announcements and initiatives coming up as well, but just give us maybe an overview of yourself and Siki. That'd be great.
Yes, so we basically focus a lot within the music space, the creator space. We have everything out right now. We're on the App Store. We're live on the web as well. We have some new releases coming up, as well as we're launching a bunch of series on Siki that are going to be a bunch of different live series that are coming up. But we fix a lot of different issues that exist in the music industry, like royalty payments during live streams that have never been paid, and a bunch of different issues like that. But yeah, I mean, that's a short overview of us.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. And then I do see that we have Jack up here. Thank you for coming up last minute. Actually had the opportunity to interview Jack yesterday. He is brewing on-chain art through Cupco. Jack, if you can maybe just give a brief intro of yourself, tell us a brief overview of Cupco, and then we'll get into the weeds here with everybody.
Yeah, hey, Ryan, thanks for the call out and the invite. Excited to hear about these other chains too, and kind of how everyone's approaching the UX, challenge of operating a decentralized computer. So yeah, we're brewing on-chain art over on the LUKSO blockchain. We put out some coffee beans. We called them the GM beans to kind of wake up early. Kind of our solution to trying to energize an early user base within an ecosystem over on LUKSO. Yeah, we're there because of the UX, honestly. So looking forward to, again, hearing kind of how everyone's approaching it.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Jack, and thank you for coming up last minute here. All right. So for those that haven't joined one of these kind of cross-chain spaces, they can become kind of Wild Westy. I know all of you guys have been building for quite some time in this space. I'm going to kind of go round robin here. And maybe I'll start with Jake from Kinetic. When you look at something like F Assets and Layer Cake going live on Flare, it obviously opens up a lot of different opportunities, specifically for like smart contract based digital assets to participate in things like DeFi. Tell us a little bit about where you kind of see that opportunity leading towards with what you guys are building with Kinetic. How important the user experience from an education standpoint is going to be for you guys to make sure that people understand what they're doing when it comes to DeFi on the Flare network.
So it's massive, right? It's massive. There's a lot of people, because we are the first lending protocol to launch on the Flare network. There's a lot of people who have no idea what a lending protocol does. They have no idea what benefit they're going to get, right? So we're going to have our testnet event happening fairly soon. A little bit of alpha, exclusively right here. And I've been working very, very hard to write out a very, very, very comprehensive tutorial for a tutorial video. Luckily I do have some experience working on tutorial videos from my time being the voice of the Saucer Swap, which is the main DEX on Hedera's tutorial videos. So I spent a lot of time on that. I've got my script pretty much done. We are going to be incorporating a little bit of information on something else that's coming to the Flare network, which is liquid staking. Liquid staking by the company Scepter, who we're partnering very closely with, because how stuff works on Flare, I'll try to keep it short. Essentially, liquid staking helps people be able to get the benefits of holding Flare and the Flare drops, while also being able to use their Flare in our DeFi platform. So I'm going to be incorporating some stuff about how to liquid stake as well. And basically, I've got a lot of work ahead of me. I'm talking directly with the people at Flare as well about F Assets, Layer Cake, and how we can best kind of convey, the actual details of when they're eventually going to be able to use these things. I know the betas are coming up soon for F Assets. But yeah, it's a long process, and you have to kind of like toe that line between too much information where people get intimidated, and not enough where because you're making tutorial videos not for the people who are going to get it quickly, right? You're making it for the people who need them. So I try to make that kind of stuff as comprehensive as I can.
Yeah, and you bring up interesting phraseology, which is it's a long process, and I think that we're all in this space. Well, I mean, most of us have been here for at least a couple of years now, but there's certainly new people coming in, and the ease to kind of fall into the what have you done for me lately, or I want everything and I want everything and I want everything right now, tends to happen all the time in crypto. Talking about a long process, I know Dirk, you guys you guys put out a pretty good thread on building real world businesses in the metaverse through the Expectorverse just came out recently, and you talk about it taking 5 to 7 years to build out like an actual AAA gaming experience. Walk us through a little bit. I mean, from your standpoints, you guys have an interesting viewpoint, which is we need to be attracting actual businesses to come into the metaverse and start leveraging the technology, businesses with real world business models. As well, like how important does it then become to make sure that the onboarding and the user experience within what you guys are building is just extremely seamless? Yeah, maybe if you could just give us your thoughts on that, that'd be great.
Well, what I've learned, Ryan, is that everything is way more complicated than it seems. And I think that every founder can acknowledge that. So what we have been doing is, of course, building a platform, and we approached it as the 3D internet. So we have actually a distributed server system with blockchain for identity ownership payments integrated. And we are focusing on real life use cases, actually bringing Web 2 companies to the metaverse to do business, focusing a lot on developers as well, because we realize that building metaverse or the metaverse or whatever you call it, well, it has to come from the people. It's like people creating their own websites, but in 3D. So at this stage, we're mainly focusing on Unreal Engine developers. In our second wave of builders, we have at this stage, I guess, 90 independent developers that all are building experiences, because of course lots of people that want to create stuff and have good ideas from within the community, they do not necessarily have the skills to build things themselves. So actually that's what we're focusing on now. User experience, well, always room for improvement, and that's why we went live with our beta. We have a form where we take feedback. The best way to improve the user experience is to actually go live with something and take feedback.
Awesome, Dirk. Thank you. And I think you mentioned, bringing Web 2 into Web 3. I always find it funny, like, too, that we, most of us in this space have been here long enough to just start using terms naturally, that if we were to, say Web 2 or Web 3 to 99% of the people walking down the street, they'd be like, what are you talking about right now? But I mean, I think bringing real world businesses or experiences that normally happen in our everyday lives right now, whether it's, going to a concert, going to a movie, whatever it may be, it kind of leads me to Siki and what you guys are building with Siki, Chris, which is, live events and then kind of streaming of those events, incentivizing and monetizing and all the royalty stuff that comes around with that. It doesn't necessarily have to be music. It can be, a gaming event. It can be esports and all these different things you guys are doing. Talk to us a little bit about, how you kind of envision the user experience aspects within what you guys are building with Siki, and where you see that overlap and the opportunity that kind of exists to really bring in like Web 2 influencers into Web 3, Web 2 musicians into Web 3, gamers, all that stuff.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing we focus on is the community that comes from Web3. I think that that's something that's unique to Web3 itself, because you have these very dedicated communities that work with these different chains, and they really help boost projects and things like that. And we've even seen, some Web3 artists get decent traction just from the fact of them being on certain chains and working with certain things, because on the other side of things, because it is live streaming, you do have a lot of people under the age of 18 that will join live streams, and they'll watch gaming and different things like this. So we have to create this sort of like almost invisible sort of bridge where it's like, this is how you're going to connect to the two things. And, these groups can use it, these groups don't have to use it. But things like collectibles, like, you can still have that kind of exist. It's really just, again, like working with that gray line area of, how much you're going to really talk about what it is, and how much you're going to focus on, oh, I'm going to get rich off this, and different things like that. So I think that the biggest thing is, again, for us, showing that there are these strong communities that can work with you, whether you're, a streamer, or you're looking to build your own, series, or whatever you're trying to do, and all these different elements that can really kind of carry over.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. I think one thing that's interesting to look at is, like, if you really kind of look at Web3 adoption and where this is going to go in the future, I mean, I believe personally that a lot of this stuff's just going to run in the background without most people that are on board into crypto even know that they're using the technology that underlies all these, underlies all these networks, things like that. I think when you think about that, to kind of lead me into Interlock and what you guys are building, Andrew, something like ThreatSlayer and kind of browser-based spam prevention and all the other aspects that does have AI and does have blockchain incentives and all the other stuff that comes with it. But at the end of the day, I mean, you just browse normally and it kind of works. Talk to us a little bit about Interlock and how Interlock is looking at, kind of the user experience of people that are browsing the internet, or crypto users, or whatever it may be, and how important incentivization is in that model for you guys as well.
Yeah, I think covering your first point, I couldn't agree more. How you say it's running in the background, the way I describe it to friends, family, investors. We're building applications, and I view blockchain as mostly infrastructure. And if you're marketing a Web 2 app, you're typically not going to market that you're on Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud. Users don't care about the back end, they care about the front end, the benefits, and what they're doing with the product. And at Interlock, Our product is like a normal Web2 product. Easy sign on, click to connect wallet. That's the only Web3 element. Click to connect wallet, and then some security token. But most of the user experience will be familiar to most of our users. And what we're doing from a go-to-market perspective is our first targets are DeFi and Web3 users, hardcore folks. And then as we expand to regular folks, our marketing will change a little bit. But besides creating and adding a wallet and understanding token incentives, it should be a relatively seamless experience. And as it relates to security, part of a security problem is around products and products that have friction or that are that get in the way of users browsing the web. And our whole goal is to make it so people actually use these products and they keep them left on. But circling back to your first point, it's like blockchain, I think for mass adoption, it's, it's infrastructure and what benefits are you giving to your users.
Yep. I think when you talk about blockchain infrastructure and what benefits there are to users, I mean, Jack, you and I had a pretty good discussion yesterday surrounding LUKSO and the infrastructure that has been built that really kind of breaks down a lot of I mean, even in this space, like one thing to think of, and I know that we had the opportunity to interview Fabian. I'm actually interviewing him again tomorrow. Fabian, I mean, obviously invented smart contracts, ERC20, and everything else surrounding that. But he brought up a really interesting point that was like, look, since 2009, Bitcoin and peer-to-peer payments and what that, kind of revolutionized, and then smart contracts and DeFi and all this other stuff, there still hasn't been, really kind of native user experience foundations like built from the blockchain like level up. And that comes down to like how we look at a wallet. Why do we look at a wallet as we're looking at a wallet right now? Why isn't the wallet actually kind of our identity, decentralized, and everything else that comes along with that? But Jack, I'm going to ramble. I mean, tell us a little bit about what you find uniquely interesting and the value proposition that you have as a builder to build on a blockchain like LUKSO that has been kind of orchestrated from the ground up to kind of really dive into user experience.
Right. So thanks for the question. The biggest benefit that we see with LUKSO and why we chose to build there is due to that digital identity piece being handled by the foundation. The Layer 1 blockchain itself is dedicated to developing and releasing and maintaining that universal profile, which is a smart contract based digital identity. It is, quote, utility at the infrastructure layer for everyone who uses the chain inherently to the chain itself. It's no more externally owned account, and just that simple line itself, it just makes me excited that we can actually operate truly decentrally on chain from start to finish, even from a user perspective, and they don't even have to know that they're actually operating on chain if they don't want to.
Yep, 100%. And I think, for those that are just joining right now, at the top of the hour, we do have the opportunity to really dive into the grants program within LUKSO. So stick around. We've got Lucian Aguilar, who's the managing director of the Foundation for New Creative Economies within LUKSO. So super excited there. Hashpack, I want to get to you guys, Mark, because you guys have a pretty interesting viewpoint on user experience as well. I actually remember seeing a post, Mark, like I don't remember who posted it from Hashpack. It was like a month ago that says where we've been versus where we are now, and like the initial UX of Hashpack was like just. I'm sure for you guys it was like because we look at some of this stuff through the Genfinity stuff too, and it's like, oh my god, I can't believe that's like what the website looked like 6 months ago or a year ago. Talk about building out really kind of seamless user experience within Hedera, and so even some of the tool sets that you guys have built in, like integrations through NFT marketplaces and being able to swap and all the other stuff that you guys have kind of built. Mark, that'd be great.
Yeah. I think that was Jacob that put out that comparison between what Hashback looked at, pre-launch and what it looks now. And I mean, it's been a long journey. I think that there's a lot of iteration, and like probably all of you guys in the panel here, you're very aware that at the end of the day, you're building something for someone else to use. So taking the feedback and taking it to heart, even if sometimes it might require to pivot is something that we base all of our decisions with regards to product on. And we're constantly looking at how do we make Hashpack the easiest to use. Obviously, there's the thing that everyone says, like, oh, how do we make it as easy to use so my grandma can use it, right? And it's kind of a cliche thing to say in crypto, I guess, because it's everyone says it. But if you start off that, and that's kind of like the end goal that you're trying to achieve, right? Like you start kind of simplify everything. We thankfully, we're built on top of a network that we have a lot of advantages with regards to the fast settlement and the very low fees. And then from within Hashback, we're always aiming to, make it as like all of the fees and everything as transparent as possible and as low as possible. Because at the end of the day, like there's no we like our incentives is on are set by the amount of users that are using the app, and that's really what we're going to do, what we want to drive. Also, as a wallet, at the end of the day, we are. I think somebody else said it in the panel. I don't know who it was, but we're for the most part, we're a lot of times we're the entry point, right, for a lot of people. Obviously, a lot of people just try and buy and hold on centralized exchanges, and we've seen how that's how that's gone in some cases in the past. But when you go into a new ecosystem, a lot of the people, and probably a lot of you have experienced the same thing, it's very hard to kind of gauge what to do, right? So within Hashpack, we identified that issue, and we were like, okay, well, since we're kind of the first step, to get to us, people have already done some research, so and they've created a wallet. The next step is like, okay, so how do we amplify? How do we grab community projects and give them a space where they can reach users and do it in a way that is easy and not very convoluted. I mean, how many spaces have we done with regards to like education's Solomon? I mean, it's upwards of 100 or something like that. It's pretty nuts, and that just all plays into the entire user experience of the user. At the end of the day, crypto still in its nascent state. A lot of the things are still very technical, and that becomes a challenge for a lot of people because they just feel that they come into crypto and they're like, well, I'm so far behind, like I might just not use it very much. So one of the things that we're constantly doing with Hashback is making sure that we integrate a lot of projects, that we provide tools for the people that are very advanced, that want to do use the snapshot tool to figure out how many people hold a certain token or how many people have associated a certain token. Also, like use the airdrop tool for creators that want to airdrop certain things to community members. And obviously, a plethora of other features such as data wallet swaps and everything. One of the things that with the launch of our token that we're aiming to do is really take this to the next level and start incentivizing behaviors inside of the wallet, so people can start learning and drop the learning curve. Because once again, fortunately, being built in Hedera, it means that the fees are basically negligible, and most people are able to pay a fraction of a cent for a transaction. So if they want to start testing DeFi and they want to connect to SaucerSwap or HSuite or whatever other decentralized exchange, they can do that at a very low entry point. And on top of that, if you're using it within the wallet, we're going to be introducing the Pack rewards here with the launch of Pack, which will get you part of the feedback. So by just holding some HBAR and swapping it, you're going to receive another HCS token, even if you're not swapping for our own token. So that's our core kind of philosophy in terms of how we approach user experience. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But like, yeah, we can come back to it in a little bit. I feel like I've been rambling for a little bit.
No, you're good, and congrats. I think that you guys just announced this, but Mexi and BitGet, and that's pretty huge. I think one thing that's been interesting to watch, and I think that we'll consistently see happen, or at least I would hope see happen in all of these ecosystems, that is that you start seeing, like, so obviously on Hedera you've got HBAR on a bunch of exchanges, but now you're seeing HTS tokens start to launch on some tier 1 exchanges. I mean, that should be the expectation for like every ecosystem that's growing. And you think about being able to launch a token, obviously, you've got to get kind of the underlying token on the layer one kind of spread out for liquidity and all the other stuff. But, as these ecosystems grow, you're going to, I think healthy growth would represent multiple tokens, within these ecosystems being launched on these layer ones. Jack, I know that you have your hand up. Please go ahead, sir.
Thanks. Hashpack, you kind of hit this point in my head, questioning user experience. And you had said, people are willing to pay a fractional cost when it comes to gas. A big thing for user experience on LUKSO is that the gas is paid for the user via something called a relayer service. And like, that's a huge benefit for why me and my team are over there. I'm curious how other ecosystems are approaching that gas challenge, because there's so much that goes into it from the user, the normie side, to actually get a token, to ever pay gas. And if we can just take that away from the entire onboarding, that's how I actually see, impactful user adoption of the quote average user. So I was curious, what your guys' approach was to that, because you're building, the interface for users with the chain that you guys support.
Yeah, no, I mean, and we've seen, like, I mean, I think that that's honestly where the space is going. Obviously, depending on the maturity of the layer ones or layer twos, like, it's harder to accomplish, because, like, we all know there's certain L1s that the fees are not based in cents; they're set in tens of dollars, and if you're gonna have to pay transactions for tens or hundreds or millions of transactions, that really does add up. But I definitely think that that's kind of where, that's really where it's starting to go, right? um I've I actually didn't know that 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 LUKSO, I believe you said, right? So that LUKSO was offering this, but I think that this is a great initiative, because at the end of the day, what that really does is, once again, it really drops the friction from people to come in, right? I mean, when you download Instagram or whatever other Web2 app, like, you don't have to pay anything, right? You're paying with data, but like, people don't really seem to care about their data. And from our perspective, right, one of the things that we've seen is from Hedera, right? If you want to make a transaction, it's what is it? Tenth of a cent. So that's so negligible at a point that, like, it's not even, like, people don't even see it. Like, it's not even, if it was one H bar, I mean, an H bar is like, what, 11 cents at the moment, but like, still, right? So we're always aiming to get to those, $0.0001, and making sure that also, like, all of the transaction costs and all of the fees are based on are not fluctuating, that are pegged to the US dollar. Because I think that at the end of the day, like, if an L1 or an L2, that's great, but the price appreciates, and then the fees kind of remain the same, you will obviously eventually end up paying more. So one of the things that we're doing currently, and this is going to go live tomorrow, is the Packback Rewards, which is, so as Hashpack, part of our business model is we take a convenience fee for certain attributes within the wallet. So what you can imagine is basically anything that's extra. So, like, if you want to send, if you want to stake, if you want to do anything that is the base of the wallet, we don't take any fees on that. But on certain features, such as like the in-wallet swaps or the secure trade, right, we have a convenience fee in that. So what we're doing is, now that we're launching our own token, what we're going to do is basically kind of a cashback system. So we call it Packback, and basically we're going to refund the people that use those services within the wallet, for a percentage of it, for using those services. Because at the end of the day, the way that we see it is, first off, it's an easy way it's an easy way. It's a cool way to incentivize users to use the wallet and to explore it and use the different services. And also, it's a cool way to get people that are new entrants into the ecosystem to tap into things that they might not be quite there yet to be very comfortable about it. But when you first enter an L1, the first thing you do is probably purchase the L1 token, right? So in the case of Hedera, right, I'll buy each bar, right? But then it's like, if in the first thing you say, okay, well, like, I want to dabble into DeFi, and I say, okay, like, I'm going to buy some sauce, so I'm going to swap, right? Just by doing that action and click on the swap button, you're not only going to get receive sauce, you're also going to receive our token, which really makes it where, like, we hope, right? I mean, it's going live tomorrow, but we hope that like it really opens up people to feel more safe using Web3, and also help them throughout the journey of like, you know, going through this learning curve. Because although we all try to decrease the slope of the slope of the learning curve, it's still, you know, people still struggle to wrap their head around it.
I think too, when you talk about, Jack brings up a good point. You know, even though, you know, there's networks obviously that have like minuscule onboarding fees, like as far as like, you know, the token being used for gas or X, Y, and Z. I'm curious, Dirk, from your standpoint, I know that you guys are dealing in multiple, you know, chains right now, but from the XRPL standpoint, you know, you have to basically hold a certain amount of XRP as like kind of a trust or spam prevention mechanism, just from the wallet standpoint. So like, has that been, in your opinion, kind of like a hindrance, or do you get questions on that all the time? Do you feel like that mitigates like adoption or onboarding? I'm just curious your thoughts, because I know the XRPL is a little bit unique here too. Did I rug? Can you guys hear me?
Can hear you.
We can hear you.
All right, let me pivot from Dirk then. I kind of want to ask you guys, because you guys all probably are at different stages of building, and always like hearing about kind of what's coming down the pipeline as far as like where you guys have been, where you're at now, roadmap, and if there's anything kind of recent that you guys are, you know, excited about within what you guys are building. I'll start with Interlock. I know that this week you guys have an AMA coming up, so maybe tell us a little bit about what you guys have rolling out.
Yeah, in terms of what we have rolling out, we have our new Threat Slayer version currently with a closed group of 100 testers. Most of the major bugs have been fixed, performing really well. Feedback's good, and and this week we're testing scalability and getting ready for the general release. So we're only several weeks away from the general release of new Threat Slayer, which includes a fully revamped user interface, new threat detection, account creation, wallet connection, as we prepare for the stage after, which is actually minting the token, incentivizing users to share data and also to classify data. So we're right in the middle of launch season. Right now we got about 29,000 plus weekly active users. So excited to get, and that's just on beta. So excited to get the new product out. And then we also have a space this week for our ambassador program. So we announced that last week, and we already have almost 300 applicants already. So we have an AMA upcoming with our program leader, Chris, who's an awesome guy. He's a LF0 influencer, how to evolve the ecosystem, and excited to have him on board. So those are the two next things we have in the pipe. New Threat Slayer, followed by token minting and TGE of ILOC, and then the ambassador program AMA upcoming.
Yeah, I should preface, like, I've had Threat Slayer. I know I mentioned this when you guys are willing to come onto these spaces with us here, but I have had the Threat Slayer browser extension installed for like, I don't know, 8 or 9 months, maybe even a little bit longer than that. And it is pretty cool. It kind of just runs in the background here. I'm looking at it right now, 39,780 URLs scanned, 7,042 unique URLs scanned. It literally just runs in the background. In the future, I mean, I'll just preface for what these guys are doing too. I think it's pretty cool when you think about the AI models that you guys are using, and then also kind of just bolstering out that model in and of itself based on what all the users are kind of normally browsing. Like the model itself kind of gets stronger as more things get flagged, more bad sites get flagged, all the other aspects surrounding that. So pretty cool stuff, and kudos on the user base so far, and congrats to the team. I know you've been traveling recently. I see like all the all the traveling around the world, and I know that stuff gets exhausting, but appreciate the update. Siki, I know that you guys also, as far as rollouts are concerned, you guys have quite a bit in the pipeline here. Chris, I'd love if maybe tell us a little bit about Siki Royale too, because I know that was recent. That was a pretty big initiative that you guys did, supported by a few different layer ones. Tell us a little bit about that, and tell us about what you have going on kind of currently as well, and what's coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, so Siki Royale was kind of one of the series we were working on putting together that obviously focused on gaming, but we did more sort of, celebrity esports and music and combining those two things, because obviously within gaming, live streaming is very popular. So we did that over in Vegas, and we partnered with the Allied Esports and the HyperX Arena. So we threw on our first event there. We had a bunch of like really big influencers come in on this one. Since it's gotten around anywhere between, I think, like 16 million, impressions across where they're posting it and making sure we got all the logos visible. So we basically took that IP now and we've brought it to a few groups, and so we have a bunch of groups now that want to co-sponsor us for another one. So we're looking to keep that series going. Meanwhile, we're also actually working on a couple other ones, so that we can kind of keep sort of this dynamic sense of like all these different things that are happening on Siki while people come to it and want to check it out and see how it's really working. So we're just kind of bridging some of our network into that.
That's awesome. And I know as far as the app is concerned that you guys have just launched kind of the new version of the application. I mean, what kind of changes should we be expecting within Siki app?
So we have like another one coming this week, like I think even today, but mostly we've been working on a lot of like, UX things, because, it's kind of difficult because, we're part, if you will, Twitch and Spotify, and then we also have all these crypto elements. So there's a lot there. So for us, it's, you don't want people to get there and think Spotify, but you also don't want them to get there and think Twitch, because there is this like, definitive thing of that we do by taking a DSP and adding it to a live streaming platform, and the amount of extra opportunities that come out of that, not just for the artists, but for the curators and the live streamers themselves to earn more revenue. It's massive within the industry, especially with things like AI coming out, where people are able to release millions of songs a day just because of just constantly running a bot to make all this high end music. Curation's bigger than ever, so we're kind of just tweaking things and like having people test it out and tell us like, hey, this is kind of my opinion of this is where, I got a little confused or whatever it is. And we're kind of just keep refining it so we can get to that point where it has its own unique feel really at the end of the day, which is what we want. But, you also can't stray too far off into something that, people just, it's just more education the further away you get from, what's the norm.
100%. Thanks, Chris. Dirk, do we have you back? I don't think we have Dirk back.
Yes, Ryan.
Oh,
So
there you are,
I'm so
Dirk.
busy. I get phone calls nonstop. It's really annoying,
Well, tell us a little bit about. Well, I kind of asked before, and I'm curious if you could maybe delve into it. We were touching base on kind of the, having an underlying crypto that kind of operates as gas that you have to that might be a barrier for, not might be, but it's a semi barrier into onboarding into these ecosystems. And the XRPL is a little bit unique, given the fact that you kind of have to hold a certain amount of XRP just within the wallet period. Has that been an issue for you? I know you guys are dealing on multiple chains, but then kind of part two here is what's coming down the pipeline for Expector in the near future.
Well, I think it could be seen as an issue. We are also part of the governance alliance for Zahao. It's a technical fork of the XRPL, and they're doing things a little bit differently. They also have hooks, which is a smart contract capability, something that we lack on the XRPL, and that's with what we are building we actually need. However, Ryan, and I don't want to pivot too much, but I've been introduced last week to Binance Labs, and we were speaking with them, and that was a real eye opener. I I think I'm a pretty smart guy. However, I would have done some things differently, and lots of us focus on technology and which chain is the best. And I'm a huge fan of HBAR and Flare, as you know. But sometimes we miss something. We have to follow the people, because where the people are, the money is. And especially with something what we're building, we are doing really well. We have no external investors. One of the reasons why is that we're building on the XRPL, and that most VCs aren't interested in the XRPL, but that's another story. But I know you like to watch old videos. The best example is VHS versus Betamax. Betamax was better technology. However, it didn't win. So adoption will be a decision that is made by the people, and that's why we are going to focus in our next steps on integrating layer 2 EVMs. I don't want to go into discussions, is it better technology, yes or no. It's where the people are, and the low hanging fruit are the early adopters and are the crypto communities. So yeah, that's an important thing that we've been reflecting on, and I think that everybody should do it. It was really eye-opening to speak with Binance Labs. They gave so much good feedback, very harsh sometimes, but it was a real eye-opener. And sometimes we forget the important things, and everything goes back to the people. It's not about the technology, actually.
Awesome. Thank you, Dirk. Well, I hope you can hang around for a little while today to hear a little bit about LUKSO too. We've got this interview. I know that they're just rolling out Wave 1 of their grant program, which I think when you think about user experience, these guys are really kind of building that out from the foundation level. It's been interesting to dive into that ecosystem. I want to ask Kinetic the same question from Flare. What you guys have coming down the pipeline with Kinetic? What's been kind of being built in the background? I know that you guys are probably playing a little bit of the waiting game with F assets and layer cake and things like that. But if you can give us maybe an update on some of the initiatives you guys have going on currently, Jake, that'd be awesome.
Sure. So, it's never fun to talk about delays. We have had a few delays, mostly because there's new partners, new projects, things that are newly coming to the Flare network that we want to make sure that we take advantage of. One of those being liquid staking with Scepter. It really helps to kind of relieve the burden of people wanting their monthly Flare drops. They want their delegation staking rewards. And through liquid staking, they're still able to get those rewards and use their Flare in DeFi, which is obviously what we want. So we've had a few delays as far as making sure that we're integrating them into our system, because it really just makes the whole thing, an easier sell and much better for the end user. And also, we haven't announced this yet, but there'll be other partners that we're working with that you'll see why we're taking a little bit more time to make sure that they are integrated with our platform as well. What's coming up fairly soon is we're going to be doing our testnet, which will be really exciting. People will finally get to use our platform. We're going to hopefully today kind of reveal the UI for Kinetic, so people can see what our site looks like. I spent a lot of time with my team going over user experience. So hopefully people both using it on testnet and seeing it either today or tomorrow can see a lot of the love that was put into that. So that's the near future stuff. Obviously, far future stuff is launch. There's not going to be a massive delay for launch as far as I know now, but it is going to be probably a little later than most people expected, but it'll be well worth the wait, and you'll see why.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jake. Before I get to Hashpack and Jack here, as we kind of close out this first panel, I wanted to say I really appreciate everybody's time up here from all these different ecosystems. And one of the reasons we intentionally try to put these on is to kind of find synergy amongst these different builders and different ecosystems. So always recommend giving the panelists up here a follow, even if you're not directly in the LUKSO ecosystem or the XRPL ecosystem or Hedera or wherever. I've seen it firsthand. You never know what types of connections are gonna happen over time in this space, and I really do think that this space as a whole is still very nascent and very new and very young, and there's not as many people here as we sometimes think. You never know what types of connections you can make or synergy that can be made from connections in the future. Let me get to Hashpack here. I know you guys have had a pretty busy week, but maybe talk about the experience of deciding to kind of launch the token aspect and what you guys have coming up. I know you guys have announced a couple of centralized exchanges. Maybe just maybe just tell us a little bit about that process, because I'm sure that process was very fun. But yeah, Mark, if you can maybe give us any updates from Hashpack, what you guys have coming up, that'd be great.
Yeah, so we have a ton coming up, and I'd love to share a lot. Well, I'd love to share everything, but we like to kind of keep things close to our chest. But yeah, I guess like the first thing you mentioned with regards to the token. So the decision to make the token something like the discussion started a long time ago, but at that point we didn't feel that the wallet was at a stage where we could squeeze the most, like basically increase the user experience by an order of magnitude by bringing in a token. And now, after almost 3 years, where we believe that we're in the stage where like adding a token and adding very cool different ways of using it within the wallet is going to be, it's going to elevate the experience of every user. With regards to the exchanges, dude, I mean, a lot of people here have their own tokens. I don't wish to anyone that having to deal with centralized exchanges, but it's honestly, I mean, you have to understand also from their perspective, right? And at the end of the day, the way that we do things at Hashpack, we try and be as compliant as possible, and cross all the T's and dot all the I's, and make sure that everything's as squared away as possible, right? Thing with exchanges is that obviously you have to give up some control with regards to the process, and that's something that's been a challenge to get used to, because we normally are very quick to making decisions and pushing things forward. But at the same time, it's also understandable. With regards to things coming up in the future, we've already said this in the past, so right now we're extremely focused on the launch of Pack. Obviously, we have a lot of features that will also provide a lot more cool ways of using Pack within the wallet. And then with regards to centralized exchanges and all this, the only thing I can say that is to stay tuned. We're working nonstop, and we want to make sure that we use the launch of Pack as a way to onboard new users into the ecosystem, and that being to Hashpack and also other projects. But yeah, that's the 2 cents.
Awesome. And then Jack, if you can tell us, that was a really good interview that we did yesterday. I'm going to try, I know we're going to Consensus next week. I'm going to try to get that out later this week if possible, but it's been really awesome. Like, obviously Genfinity's, working with a few of the ecosystems up here. So huge shout out to Siki, huge shout out to, Hedera and Left Zero, and but obviously LUKSO as well, as kind of the media aspect. And it's been awesome trying to just reach out and talk to a lot of the builders. I had the opportunity to talk to Presto from Chill Whales yesterday for like a good half hour, and the guys from Hoods and Leadfoot, and just so many, James from Family, and your interview yesterday was awesome. And I would love if you could maybe tell us a little bit about some of the stuff that you guys are building with Cupco. I love your viewpoint around kind of GMing the entire community, because you look at LUKSO and the kind of the foundations that have been built, and I do think that not price speculation wise, but I think just ecosystem and what's built and what's going to be built wise, how early this ecosystem really is. But Jack, if you can maybe just give us a little bit of insight what's going on with Cupco, or what you're kind of excited about within the LUKSO ecosystem moving forward, that'd be really cool.
Totally appreciate it. I'm going to try and hit on some Cupco stuff quick, and then I want to kind of tie a thread through a couple of the other speakers up here, because it's interesting. Like DS, your point about meeting the people where they are, I think was kind of what I took away from that. The users, finding them where they are, and how it's not maybe about the tech, but my point of view is that it is about the tech, and it's about the way that the technology can meet the existing users where they are. And the existing users would be, people outside of this Web3 niche, this Web3 area. Like, we can create Web2 style DApps and user interfaces and account standards that look like a Gmail one-click login kind of thing, only it's operating on chain. And that's what the LUKSO standards are enabling us to do from a completely decentralized Ethereum 2.0 fork. I think our anniversary is today of all days, of 1 year of actual mainnet. So this is the EVM reimagined with new standards that allow for things for users to join a layer one chain. And hashpass, to your point earlier, or hashpack, sorry, I can't see the end of the P on the screen. To your point earlier, when a user comes to LUKSO, they don't actually have to buy the layer one because the LUKSO Foundation is supplementing all gas for current people who are using this chain to experience it. And even from a DApp perspective, people can use their email to create a smart contract based account. And then on the back end, that DApp is paying all of the gas for the users, and they don't even experience like a browser extension. It's actually crazy. That is universal page, universal dot page is the way you can experience that. And then I'm going to loop this back to Cupco because that is, the coffee universal profile. That's what Cup is. And Co is collective community. It's the people that, participate in the dream and the vision and the energy that all of us bring to a new chain. Because if you're active in Web3, you see something that average people don't, is a good way of saying it. Like, we all see things through a unique set of eyes. And I think energizing those eyes and aligning the people in those ecosystems is so incredibly impactful to the long-term growth and sustainability of something that is a truly decentralized ecosystem, because it's hard to find alignment amongst the chaos of everything that occurs across the world at any given moment. And like, the attempt is to say GM because somebody's always waking up somewhere in Web3, and it's always a good morning because we're all still here, we're all still building, we're all still dreaming because we care enough to. So really the whole thing here is GM. To everyone here, GM Beans, Cupco, On-Chain Art, building on LUKSO, because the tech can connect to the people outside of Web3. And I think that's where the massive untapped potential is, because we eliminated things like seed phrases. We eliminated things like buying a token on an exchange somewhere or porting ETH to Uniswap to get a token on some other thing and then bridging it. Like, nobody has to do that. It's just an email and done.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jack. I really appreciate it. Again, have to give a gigantic shout out for all the ecosystems and all the builders across these ecosystems that have taken time out of their busy days today. I know how busy everybody is. Trust me. Andrew from Interlock, congrats on the user base with Interlock. That's been awesome to watch. And then congrats to the LF0 ecosystem on the launch of Common and the DEX aspects. Privacy enhancing technology on top of the AMM that just went live, and Alephoria just went live, which is really cool. So. And then the ambassador program that you guys have built out, and excited to see all the initiatives coming through Interlock. Same thing with Hashback. Congrats on on the upcoming token launch. Obviously, not financial advice from our end here, but I know how hard you guys have been working for the past few years on everything with Hashback. And for those that don't know, Hashback has helped us put together, well over probably 100 interviews in the Hedera ecosystem. Huge shout out to Dirk and Expector. I know that you guys have been building nonstop for the past couple of years, and not just on the XRPL, but multiple ecosystems. Thank you to Chris and Siki. It's going to be really exciting to watch these kind of the communities of kind of these Web2, whether it's a musician or an artist or anybody that can really create content and stream it. And then bringing people in a way that empowers them and incentivizes them for their content, their data, their intellectual property, which I think is huge in this space. And that's kind of been bastardized massively with some of the platformification of things that we just natively use right now that are not meant to empower the users, but are meant to kind of maintain the status quo. Kinetic and Jake, always a pleasure talking to you, dude. Looking forward to everything that you guys are building out on Flare. And then Jack from Cupco, from the LUKSO ecosystem, really appreciate you joining us today as well. That being said, guys, follow each other for the community down there. Give everybody a follow as well. Super excited for this segment that we are about to move into. We have Lucian Aguilar, who is the managing director of the LUKSO Foundation for the New Creative Economies. We're going to dive deep into the weeds of all things LUKSO grants. They just recently announced, I believe it was on May 1st, the first kind of wave of grant initiatives through LUKSO. So this is going to be kind of an interview-driven thing here. So hopefully we've got some different eyes, some different ecosystems, and we can educate everybody on what's going on within the LUKSO Foundation. So bear with us for 1 second, guys. We'll get started here in a minute. Alrighty, I believe we have the LUKSO Foundation account that's going to be coming up, as well as Lucian. So we'll give him just a minute here, and we will get started, guys. Darren, is my mic still sounding okay?
Yeah, it sounds great. My Twitter was acting a little glitchy before. It was like going in and out, and then my mic stopped working. So hopefully it doesn't happen anymore.
If I know that let me try to search through the audience here to get the invites out. If not, if you guys can request to come up and speak, I will bring you guys up. But let me search through my my audience here.
Oh, by the way, Derek, I sent you a message.
All right, I've got invites out. I should maybe preface cell phone. If I'm sure Lucian's been on Spaces before, but cell phones always work much better for Spaces rather than laptop. But I do have an invite out to the LUKSO main account, to the LUKSO Foundation account, as well as to Lucian's account. And bear with us, guys. We will get started here in a second. Awesome. I think we have Lucian up here. Lucian, can we do a quick mic check?
Hello.
Sound good. Well, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it. I always like to start these out with a little bit of an introduction. So, Lucian, if you can maybe just give a background of yourself, what brought you into the LUKSO ecosystem, and what kind of brought you into the role as managing director within the Foundation for the New Creative Economies, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. So been in this industry now in crypto since 2014 privately, and then full-time since 2019. Back then worked for Kraken for almost 4 years. And besides that, have also a background as an artist myself. I'm a music producer and DJ. And last year happened to meet with Fabian at a conference, and we just exchanged some ideas in general about what the future of the creative economies is going to look like. And then stayed in touch, and then met Marjorie at Miami for Art Basel. And then just speaking with them, the opportunity then opened up for me to join the foundation and as managing director this January. And I've been working in the background since this January. I'm excited now for the grant program to be live, and for this to mark the next stage of our growth.
Awesome. I mean, I would love if you could maybe give us some insight into your thought process around, what makes the LUKSO network unique. Tell us, I guess, maybe just an overview of the thought process, or like, what is the vision of new creative economies and user experience? What really kind of makes the LUKSO network fundamentally valuable compared to all the other stuff that it kind of exists out here in this space?
Yeah, sure. I mean, LUKSO obviously under the hub is an ETH2 twin, which has a new set of powerful standards, 25 plus LSP and counting. And obviously in the centerpiece, as you've heard it before, is the smart contract account, the universal profile, which basically changes the way we interact in specifically in the blockchain. So when it comes to the new creative economies as such, the focus of LUKSO is obviously on the social, the creators, and as well as on culture. Historically, these industries have been quickest to adapt to innovation and change. In my own brain currently, what I think about is, the development of music over the decades from analog to digital, and the way that artists have experimented with that. Now, these industries obviously have big communities, and simplifying the way they interact, the user experience as such, is going to be fundamental to the next wave of adoption for blockchain. And just as obviously Fabian also said in a previous conversation, when he proposed ERC20, it had a big impact on the growth of this industry. And now, hopefully, we are certain actually that with the universal profile at the core and the new standards, we can achieve the same round of adoption now with LUKSO.
Yeah, and I know, before we get too deep into the weeds here, I mean, obviously this is kind of just the kicking off point of the grant initiatives through the LUKSO Foundation. Can you maybe touch base on the use cases that you guys are going to have a focus on, or within the first wave of grants?
Sure. Well, obviously, in general, we want builders now to work and to play around with the standards that are out there. Obviously, there is this is subject also to the submission. We focus on tools and infrastructure. For example, so social media feed tools for community management, recovery tools, DAO tools, permission managers, dashboards. But obviously also a big focus is on education and awareness related applications.
Awesome. And then if you could maybe just give us a little bit of a deeper look into like the formation. So for the FNCE, different roles within the foundation, kind of where you guys are at right now with employees of the foundation, overall kind of mission of the foundation, just kind of what goes on in the background so people maybe have a little bit of a better idea. That'd be great.
Sure. Yeah. So the foundation is Swiss-based. It is incorporated in Zug, and as such is a regulated entity with an annual audit and a supervisor. The ESA here in Switzerland. As such, obviously, things have taken a little bit longer to be properly set up. So far, we are now done with the first year. The foundation was founded last year, and the first audit is expected later this year. Employee-wise, we run pretty much like a classical foundation with me as MD. Then we have an operations team, we have a finance team, and we have a growth team. At the same time, we're currently also looking into marketing activities. So there's going to be colleagues supporting us on that end as well. And as far as the mission is concerned, it is really the foundation has actually the purpose of nurturing the ecosystem as such, developing it, promoting it, and develop its blockchain technology. There are different means we have at our disposal for this. We will be supporting research and development. We will be financing beneficial activities such as hackathons, grants, and in the future also more different tools such as maybe an accelerator or an ecosystem venture fund. And as far as promoting goes, events, meetups, conferences could be there. And then obviously engaging in growth-related activities such as partnerships or with stakeholders in general. And obviously marketing the LUKSO protocol.
Awesome. And I know obviously the first wave of grant applicants is coming through. I believe, trying to do a little bit of due diligence here before this interview, that June 16th is the deadline for the first wave of grants. Can you maybe walk us or walk the audience through the process for applying for grants? And then I'm sure, as with all foundations across Web3, you guys have probably gotten some really well put together grant proposals, as well as some ones that might need a little bit of work. Can you maybe just touch base on the best practices for people that are looking to apply for some of these grants?
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So the program itself is $1 million, and it's going to be distributed in our LUKSO token. It's going to be a quarterly wave of the grant program, meaning we're going to do more of these. And as you stated correctly, it's going to close now, the first one, June 16. Afterwards, the team will review and get back to the applicants within 4 weeks. These grants obviously will not just be about funding, but also will be also about mentoring and support alongside this building journey. And this will include master classes as well as review sessions and much more. There is more information obviously on our grants website, which I encourage every interested person to have a look at. And it includes all of the basics which one should follow. And there is also more best practice also on our FAQ section there. So now, obviously, best practices to apply. Important to us is that obviously the LSPs, the LUKSO standard proposals are being utilized, as well as universal profiles are in the loop. Use case wise, as I mentioned earlier, there is it's quite wide, but it should be useful and scalable for the LUKSO network. Obviously with a touch on user experience and a fit into the ecosystem. Now, what I could touch base on as well briefly is the grant sizes, which obviously depend on the applications itself. We don't have a set minimum or maximum for that. It depends on the applications, how many we receive, the quality of these, and obviously the potential impact they might have on our network. So looking at this holistically, obviously the quality of the projects as well as the complexity and the number of applications are very important here. What is also important for the application, some suggestion I can give is that obviously we need clear milestones, at least 3 of them, which we can revise and then proceed as well, so that there is something measurable there.
So how much is allocated to the projects? Is there like a minimum number or maximum number? Do you have a lot of applicants so far?
So as I just said, there is not really a minimum or maximum number. It depends. This is obviously subject to the deadline when we'll see how many applications we had and assess the quality of these applications, as well as other parameters such as the potential for user adoption, the value add to the ecosystem, to name a few.
I think one of the things that we see sometimes in this space is from a foundation aspect is sometimes there's kind of pushback from community on like transparency and grant decisions. Like, how do you guys plan to kind of tackle that from the LUKSO Foundation, as far as making sure that you mentioned kind of getting back to grant recipients, whether it's a yes or a no within kind of a 4-week time frame? But how do you guys kind of plan to kind of cultivate community and bring about kind of a level of transparency within LUKSO? Because I mean, just dealing in a lot of different ecosystems, I see that it sometimes that is a pain point with these grants, whether it's the decisions that are made or the transparency surrounding them, things like that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, on that end, what is important is, of course, for us to have well-defined and quantifiable milestones received, as well as some measurable KPIs, and these are outlined, by the way, on our website. And then we try to be very transparent in communicating these, and obviously focusing on stuff such as maximizing the benefits for the ecosystem. On the review process itself, there is a multi-step review process in place with a committee, and on the transparency side, make sure we do have fairness in the decision making and also open and transparent communication with the applicants. Obviously, the grant program structure itself is adaptive. So it follows, it allows, or basically we follow a continuous integration of feedback from the community here, and try to have an open and transparent communication with everybody.
100%. And I kind of wanted to ask, you touched base on kind of having infrastructure as one of the key focuses within the foundation for this current wave of grants. Can you maybe, without giving away like individual projects, can you maybe touch base on a couple of the use cases that you may have seen from some of the grant proposals? And what is your kind of vision for future waves of grants? So current grant proposals, different types of use cases you guys are seeing, and then where your kind of vision for the foundation goes for future waves of grants.
Sure. I mean, I cannot comment on the current applications. This is still open, not concluded yet. But I could give you an example of what I personally would like to see. That for sure. So just me as an artist and event organizer myself, I would love to see a nice ticketing application that we could utilize eventually for conferences and events. Also me as an artist, a nice platform for artists to have social tokens for their fan tokens, which may or may not have also some more complex rules in place, such as a proof of attendance. So me going as a fan to a concert of my favorite artist, then receiving an airdrop once I'm there, or me listening to content of my artist, receiving an airdrop as a reward, and so on. So these are two that I personally, as an artist and as a event organizer, would like to see. Now, as far as the vision for the foundation is concerned, and its role in the future of the adoption in general, as stated earlier, the foundation, is kind of is kind of there to serve as on one hand, obviously, the guardian of the ecosystem in a way, in that it is supporting not only the growth initiatives, the marketing initiatives, and some community initiatives, but also, we will ideally, or in the future, offer the whole value chain of building, right, from hackathons to the grant programs, to maybe an accelerator, and eventually an ecosystem venture fund. So making sure that on every step of on every milestone, that the foundation is there to help the builders and the community to flourish and grow the ecosystem.
I want to ask Lucian, like, because you mentioned obviously, one of the key points of the grants is making sure that universal profiles are taken into account, and LSPs and LUKSO standards proposals are taken into account. Do grant recipients exclusively have to be building on LUKSO? Can there be multi-chain projects that fill out a LUKSO grant? Like, where would you see kind of the carryover where there may be a multi-chain project that actually does kind of receive or has a chance of receiving a grant on LUKSO, even though they may be in a couple of different ecosystems?
Yeah, it's a good question. Actually, the applicants don't have to be exclusively building on LUKSO to receive a grant, as we do support multi-chain strategies if it makes sense for the DApp. However, as you also mentioned, integrating the LSPs as well as the universal profiles in the right ways is essential for being eligible for the grant, and is going to be an important evaluation criteria, which we keep in mind when. Which the applicant should keep in mind when applying. Yeah. Beyond that, you're looking for developers who are eager to explore the full potential of the LSPs and just play around with it and have fun.
Yep, 100%. And I think we see this all the time, but what advice would you give to applicants that submit their grant that may get rejected? I know I kind of touched on it a little bit about the level of communication, and you kind of mentioned that, but I guess from your stance, like, I guess it's like a kind of an information level, like to I think a lot of the times what happens through some of these grant bodies is you just kind of get this hey, you're rejected, and then it kind of just the communication level stops there. But from your stance, Lucien, what would you recommend applicants do if they do get rejected? I mean, because you mentioned these are quarterly, I would just maybe love your thoughts surrounding this.
Oh, sure. I mean, first of all, obviously, it's not the end of the world. It's actually potentially a good learning lesson as well to reflect why that might have been the case. So maybe going back to the application and review and see for some potential red flags, which might have been a trigger. Obviously, always open for feedback. And again, it's the grant come in waves, so it's open for everybody to in the subsequent waves to apply again. And obviously, there are other ways to receive support or funding opportunities, which we have offered in the past, and we'll launch new ones, namely new hackathons or requests for proposals, maybe some bounty programs or community funding rounds, to name a few.
You've already, I mean, you helped me out massively with my questions list here, because you already kind of are answering them naturally within some of the few that I've asked. But maybe I'll ask this, and maybe if you could dive a little bit deeper into the support given to grant recipients. If they're experienced builders and other ecosystems in need, like for the onboarding help into LUKSO, from a learning aspect within LSPs, or a learning aspect within kind of the fundamental kind of technology aspects with LUKSO, what type of support, whether it's developer advocacy and outreach, or maybe just walk us through that. What are you guys planning to do for individuals or projects that receive grants?
Sure. I mean, first and foremost, there is it's a very open and welcoming community. So there's a lot that can be learned from everybody. Now, when it comes to the grant specifically, once a project has received or a grant, the team will onboard the project to the grant wave, and they will receive detailed information about the different ways we support and the different resources that we'll make available to them. This will include access to office hours, technical assistance for any roadblocks. Additionally, we'll provide workshops, master classes, and these are gonna support the projects throughout their technical but also PD journey. And finally, we will also help grantees to receive exposure on social media and within our community. And we believe truly that the support is gonna be valuable for builders that are new to LUKSO and eager to make a significant contribution to our ecosystem and community.
Well, I see a lot of different ecosystems, even down in the audience right now. So, guys, make sure you guys go give the FNCE account and Lucien a follow here. I want to ask Lucien, because I know that we've kind of probably tackled most of the questions we had here, if there's anything that we might have missed, or where people should be going to learn as much as they can about the LUKSO Foundation. But if there's anything we may have missed, please feel free to bring it up. I mean, I think it's awesome that the announcement just came out a couple of weeks ago. I know that the tranche is closing June 16th, but feel free to let us know where we can go to learn a little bit more. And then if there's, again, if we forgot to ask any questions, now would be the time, sir. Appreciate your time.
Sure, yeah. Thank you. Again, on LUKSO, on our website, you can find the grant section. I think it's the first thing that one should look at. And then if there are further questions, just shoot me a message on here on X, or follow LUKSO Foundation here on Twitter. And of course, LUKSO. Stay tuned.
Awesome. And I want to kind of give you maybe the last couple minutes here, if you could just walk us out with kind of your vision for the future of the LUKSO ecosystem from a user-centric and user experience standpoint. Like, what are you excited about within LUKSO and kind of the foundations that have been built here, and where you kind of see it going in the future? Would love if you could maybe inform us all on that.
Yeah, sure. Personally, I mean, I'm excited to see the applications and the DApps being built around the universal profile, and basically recreating the social network from Web 2 and Web 3 with all these beautiful applications that are being developed already, but also that are being built now in the near future. Ideas are, again, there's so much to think about, from reputation systems to just the NFT 2.0. There's so many, so just exciting news, exciting journey ahead, and let's see where the journey goes.
So a lot of the primitives with LUKSO seem geared towards like social-fi, and I'm kind of curious if there was like decentralized exchanges and DeFi applications, would they be potential grant winners?
LUKSO obviously focuses on social and creative and cultural use cases. However, obviously there are DeFi as such as is obviously right to exist, and obviously needs to be properly built also on LUKSO. So that's for sure not being ruled out. DeFi as such is the right to exist and is important, as well as like NFT platforms, even derivative platforms as such. Yeah, believe it or not, lending protocols, everything, right? We encourage applicants to innovate and create something new that goes beyond just mimicking what has been built elsewhere, and pushing the boundaries of what's possible through the LSPs and the universal profiles.
Yeah, I kind of have just one last shotgun question, because if you look at, I think this is a really interesting maybe thought process here. If you look at, you said you've been in this space for years at this point in time. If you look at what is fundamentally here with the LSPs and what universal profiles might represent, like there's probably I'm curious your viewpoint on if there's like the ideas that aren't even being thought of right now that are going to come out 6 months, a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, and like what the opportunity is from your stance as managing director within the foundation, and how kind of exciting that might be for you to like just even think about all the different crazy use cases that we're probably not even thinking about right now. I know we mentioned DeFi and DEXs and stuff like that, and then the social-fi stuff on top of that, but is that kind of the way that you think? Like, is there a level of excitement that you have that there's just so much that we haven't even thought of yet that can be built on blockchain, and especially, on LUKSO with the foundations here?
Yeah, it's a good question. If the ERC20 standard basically brought us here now with NFTs and in general with the tokens, with the fungible and the non-fungible tokens, then I think with the new standards and the smart contract account universal profile, I think it's going to bring us to the next level. So this is going to open up new ways to run economies, right? Creator economies. As I said before, like imagine like going to a concert of your favorite artist and receiving as a proof of attendance some tokens airdropped, or by listening, get rewarded for listening to or consuming content of your favorite artist. And this is just now what I can imagine as an artist. There is like a million more ways to see the things from different angles, right? So yeah, very excited to see this unlimited possibilities basically unfold. I think the standards are there; they're strong. The universal profile is there, and excited to see how all of these thoughts are coming together.
Well, we certainly appreciate your time today, Lucien. For those down there in the audience, feel free to give the Foundation for the New Creative Economies account a follow, and the LUKSO Foundation, obviously, and Lucien as well. Did a really good job today on the space, and we know how busy everybody is. So that being said, guys, we look forward to the next space that we do with y'all. And Lucien, really appreciate your time, and we will see you guys next time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.